In the heart of New York City lives a marketplace like no other.
Depuis 2023, je suis ce qui se crée dans le monde audiovisuel avec l'IA générative. Des images jamais vues, des expérimentations vertigineuses, mais la plupart du temps, vides. Vide de sens, vide d'émotion. Et puis un jour, je suis tombé sur quelque chose qui picotait. J'ai vu le premier épisode, et puis je suis passé à autre chose. Et puis j'y ai repensé. Et c'est quand même quand on repense à une œuvre qu'on sait qu'il s'est passé quelque chose. En tout cas pour moi, ça fonctionne vraiment comme ça. Alors j'y suis retourné, voir ces créatures qui vendent on ne sait quoi dans un New York des années 80 qu'on devine sans jamais vraiment voir. Un univers cohérent, mystérieux, avec une vraie personnalité derrière et beaucoup d'humour. Et ce projet s'appelle The Strangest Flea Market et son créateur c'est Bralynn Bell, un Texan spécialiste du référencement Google depuis plus de 20 ans et qui est aussi auteur de stand-up. Donc je l'ai contacté parce que je voulais comprendre comment, à l'heure où l'IA génère du beau à la chaîne, il avait réussi à créer un monde cohérent et à mon avis précurseur de ce que va apporter l'intelligence artificielle à la création audiovisuelle. On a fait cette rencontre en visio il y a quelques semaines. La voici.
Yeah, my name is Bralynn Bell. I live in Texas. Born and raised. I've lived in other places like California and New Jersey and Arizona when I was younger, but mostly Texas, 80-90% of my life. And right now I live in Corpus Christi, which is kind of by the beach, just with my son until he graduates. And then normally I live in like the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And so I've just had a computer. I'm about to turn 48. I've had a computer since I was like 10 or so, maybe 9. My day job is, for the last 20 years, has been dealing with Google and search engines and marketing online. And I wrote an online article called Choosing the Right Keywords for Search Engines over 20 years ago. And I've been dealing with it then. And that's one of the things I think gave me kind of a big head start on this, is understanding how to talk to Google is kind of the same thing as talking to the image creators.
What do you sell here at the market?
Sorry, we're closed right now. Please come back later and we would be happy. Sorry, we're closed. Sorry, we're closed. Sorry.
I created the Strangest Flea Market in 2023, I think. I'd created thousands of images just for myself, and then really found some characters I really liked. And, to your point, they felt original, and I just thought it was really cool. And then I shared some on a random Facebook page, and other people really connected with it. And I, thought, oh, that's cool. And I just kept creating over the years. And then, and then once the video was able to actually give them realistic characters and personalities, then I started trying to flesh them out. Before and to this day, I really haven't worried about naming them. I give them backstories and they sell certain things, but I've kind of shied away from trying to give them specifics other than on a need to know basis. Like when I have a character, I may have been looking at them for 2 or 3 years, and then eventually something will come to me and I'll be like, oh, they could do this, and then it'll fit, it'll feel real, and then that will be now their backstory, as opposed to just kind of arbitrary picking a name or deciding something randomly. I've kind of tried to let the story kind of grow naturally based on the original images. And so, over the years, if you followed it, you've seen it was originally just images. And then I did struggle to figure out, or to decide what I should do with the images, because I felt the characters felt special, and creating a story with them didn't automatically make the story good too. So I was kind of afraid to ruin the images themselves. And because, the image could be really awesome, and then you give it a stupid personality and it kind of ruins it. And it's like, oh, the mystery's gone. So I kind of worried about getting rid of the mystery. And so that's why through the storytelling, I'm still not using a lot of words. I'm kind of like speaking in vague terms, like, somebody will say I sell time, and they'll show something and still leave it up to the imagination in some way. So I'm kind of trying to keep that same style alive through the images and through the videos. So. the idea came through kind of gradually, like everything that I've done. I've never tried to force any of the story. I've kind of made it to seem like, oh yeah, that would make sense if that happened. You know, kind of like when you watch movies and stuff and you can feel like the world building is really deep and it just feels lived. That's really what I like doing. And so I don't really bother with names of things because that doesn't help that. I just kind of try to think. And so I've actually used AI as a technical advisor to find out things. You know, I'll go back to your original question, but like to find out, I'll ask it if if this flea market was real, because it's a flea market that's within the Milky Way galaxy. That's the backstory. And it was created, who knows how long ago, in order, the original purpose was to avoid like conflict, resource conflicts. And so we, in the 80s, sent out a satellite that got attention and we got invited. And so that's the kind of the background story. And they decide on each planet, which planet will be the hub to test out whether the flea market will work on that planet. And if you go through the trial process, then you would get accepted. And so there's all sorts of laws on, like you don't see UFOs in the flea market. You don't see like Star Wars kind of references. It's funny, I'm wearing a Star Wars shirt, but I purposefully try to make it to where if it reminds me of something else, I don't want to use it. I want it to feel new and not like, oh, I've seen that before. And it's cool when, you know, when I get comments like yours, when you recognize that, is because, yeah, that's exactly what I'm going for. And that's really the only thing I'm interested in. I don't like the, you know, like, oh, here's Superman, but now he's a this instead, or that kind of stuff. And I'm not knocking it. Some people go crazy for it, but that just doesn't interest me. What do you sell here at the Strangest Flea Market? Okay, what is something cool I could show you or say? That's really challenged me to keep doing that, and I enjoy it. I don't like repeating myself, so that's good and bad, because I could probably do a lot more videos and get away with more followers and more whatever, but I lose interest. I have to do things that are interesting to me. So that's why I say the images themselves and the story is where I'm trying to inject like humor, where I've done, you know, like I've done stand-up comedy as a hobby, but mostly just to try to write jokes. I like joke writing, and I like taking a long joke and saying what's the fewest words I can keep that punch in. I've enjoyed that, and I've done that as a hobby for the last, you know, dozen years. And so using that to try to make the characters speak in that same way that gets to something funny in only a few words, because we're limited, it is also something that I'm trying to implement into the Strangest Flea Market story.
আমি বিক্রি করি সঙ্গীত।
I think New York City flea market, there's something about it that just makes sense, that I feel like maybe I didn't even create. It was like waiting to be discovered, you know. I've started more explicitly saying New York, but I don't like to do the exposition thing, like welcome to New York stuff. I'd rather just, like, he has a spider will do like I love New York spider thing. Yeah. And you'll do like an Eiffel, or like a, you know, Empire State Building statue, stuff like that. We're kind of hint at it. Same thing with the 1980s. You know, I don't ever say the 1985 New York City, but yeah, that's what I'm going for. Yeah. And then also I try not to, you know, it kind of reminds me of Muppet Babies, where, you know, those in any kind of cartoon where you never see the adults' heads. I kind of try to keep away from showing humans, because something about that takes you out of it, where you know they're there in the background and it's blurry, but I don't want to focus on them. So I'll never really try to have real people. Plus, it's Uncanny Valley still with version 4, and you know, it doesn't matter what, the humans aren't the important part of the story anyway. So that's the style I tend to go for. Is 1980s New York.
Sell? Who said anything about selling? We just facilitate, you know?
Yeah, we move things around. Whatever needs moving.
It's very exciting to me to be like, this is just an endless amount of ideas, because for videos, and I've made some, I used to make different styles where I feel like the possibilities, to kind of go back to original, are so endless. One thing is, like, I had a video where a merchant has a TV that can play TV stations from its original location. So with people like dimensional TV is like an overdone thing now. So I thought, well, this TV can only play TV stations from where you originally got it from. That merchant somehow hooks up an antenna or whatever. And so that on that one, I have it go and cut to like a space show with little cute animal characters, like Captain Kirk, but he's a walrus or whatever. And it just like a little intro. It's a couple minutes long and a little song. It was when I was testing out the Suno stuff, and I made a little theme song. But it's cool because I could go back to that character and I could just cut to a show that happens like I Love Lucy, but like this on another planet. I mean, endless amount of references. And so every merchant could have 1,000 different things it could show you. And so that was another thing that really excited me, is like, man, it just has like, this could have 100,000 different characters that are all cool. You really, it almost feels like it built itself because it's the only thing that makes sense. It almost feels like it's like an accumulation of what would happen. It's like, okay, what happens if you have AI that can create anything and endless characters? I really think it's got such an open world that I would love to see other people's imaginations who are better than mine and just know more, take this like Marvel characters and say, okay, I really love the character that can do the TV and show different stations. And that person loves creating 1 little minute, 3-minute little one-off shows and all over the place. Let them take that and make a character and world build through that. That's where I would love to collaborate with creators and to see, because if you can imagine 100 creators all taking a merchant and just creating, what they think was cool to sell with them. That's where I'd like it to eventually get, is to games into a VR world where you could walk around the Strangest Flea Market. Ultimately I'd love augmented reality glasses in New York City, where you go like Disney World and we all see the same things happening. We see the, whatever flying through the sky, and it's like its own little like tourist thing in New York City. So ultimately that's the long goal. It's not just about the prompt, because I can take my prompts and I can feed them back into Midjourney and spend all day with the same prompt I got a character out of, and I can't get a character out of it. It's like, it's very hard to get it. Really, everything has to line up perfectly. You have to, and what I found is, and I think part of it is because of the sources it's pulling from. If you give it different aspect ratios and you give different years, let's say 1984, and you change it from square photo to a widescreen, it's looking through its entire trove of references, and it's now influenced by different things. So if you say, like I know in the 70s, the photos from cameras were square. So if you say 1979 and you change the aspect ratio, that same prompt will now give you a different result. And so and then also the style settings and the chaos level settings is, an infinite amount of possibilities. Like with one deck of cards, you get, trillions of possible variations of order. I mean, imagine how many you have with all of human history behind it. So that's one of the fun things, is when you create that prompt and you try the aspect ratio and the style and the chaos, and you just try every variation. I kind of let the AI take me there to where I'm making it create stuff, and then I spot something and I'm like, oh, that's a good one, let's go with that. And then, oh, that's a good one, and I go with that. So it's a total collaboration between me and AI to get there. But as anyone who knows who has used AI, if you just say, create a character, create a story, it's going to be the most generic ever. What I've found is confusing AI, and back to the original question, the prompts, part of that is not giving it the exact on the nose thing what you want. Because if you say Santa, it's going to pull Santa pictures and look at Santa. But if you only insinuate it, it's not going to do it. It's going to use it just a little bit. For instance, if you wanted to do Santa Claus, and let's say that you wanted a character that had Santa Claus as an influence, don't use Santa or Claus. Say a chubby white guy with a white beard wearing red, in Jolly, and put it towards the end of the thing to where now you have like a flavor of Santa Claus. So instead of making it, obvious, and I understand where people are coming from when they call AI derivative. because it's just like, yeah, you can kind of see where the character came from. Or if somebody designs a cyborg or a robot, they all kind of blend together, or there's only certain amount of styles. So that's why I stopped, I'm using version 4 of Midjourney for my characters, which is 3 years old, because that's when you were still able to confuse it. It's when it hit that magic spot between 3 and 5. Is 3 was not, it was confused, but it was too confused and it didn't look real enough. It didn't pass as real. 4, 99% of them don't pass as real, but they still have the confusion. Version 5, I've used a few version 5 characters, but it's way harder to get that confusion. And so that's what I use, right? That's what I created all my characters in. And I feel like people kind of zoomed past that, which I understand because we're all trying to do the newest thing, but there's a magic there that eventually I think we'll go back to once things calm down, because that's kind of that sweet spot.
You gotta ask yourself, dude, are you a can't or are you a can?
I'm not really a big fan of AI art in general, because it does seem hard to get original characters, which is why with my characters, I still use older versions that still had some of that AI confusion. And there is a version 4 of Midjourney is where I'm able to get those characters. And the process is just creating endless variations of version 4 Midjourney characters, because 90 or whatever percentage, most of the images are still going to look too fake. Partly because I add the 1980s style filter on there with like 1980s, 35 millimeter, all that stuff that gives it that older look. Because if you don't, it makes it look too modern. And so there's just a perfect balance of telling the AI, I want modern stuff, but I want it to have an older look, and it can't do it. But when it does finally do it, and you get an original character, that's the character I use. And for every character you see, there's just an endless amount of variations of slight prompts too. So like when I'm trying to create a character, I might go through different colors, or say I'm trying to create a character, I might say, it's a 10 or 20 word prompt. I might just swap words out, like now do it with a square, now a circle, and then blue and red, and just kind of seeing what happens. And once you have that perfect storm of the perfect prompt and it looks real and the AI is confused and it's a original character, that's that moment where I'm like, there's the character. And I can go through and look through year-old like iterations and just pages and pages and see a character I like and be like, oh, I like that character. And when I go to them, I'll see I've already upscaled and downloaded them, because it's like I can spot that perfect formula that I like out of that style. And so that's kind of how I create the characters. And part of it is due to my background is kind of like a perfect storm for AI too, where I have done video editing, somewhat professionally, just like video commercials. And when I was younger, I've always had like a video camera and made little short films for fun.
Unfortunately, I can't tell you what I sell. You have to see it for yourself.
I shared the prompts with you.
Yeah.
One of the things I think is interesting is the reason I like to share how it works, just because I want other people to create cool stuff with it. I don't want to gatekeep it, but I think it's interesting too that those prompts kind of prove that the magic just isn't the prompt. Because I can take those same prompts and try them, and I can't get a character that I would use in the flea market. Some of them I kind of see they're similar to ones I already have, which I try not to use too many of the same, except for certain styles like cats can show up a lot. But I think it's interesting because that prompt, I could probably right now try 100 times, just give me, because every time you do it in Midjourney, you get 4 versions. And then you say, okay, now give me 4 versions of that one. Now give me 4 versions of that one. You keep going. In version 4, you do that. In newer ones, it just gives you, a lot of times it just gives you one because it's better at it. But in version 4, it still wasn't very good. So you can kind of find that. And what I found a lot of times is what I originally think for a character in my mind, I kind of get taken off into another journey when AI sparks a new idea. Because of its misinterpretation of what I'm wanting, it makes me think you know, like in the movies when someone's talking and then the other person's like says, "You're a genius." And they're like, "What did I say?" That's kind of how I feel with AI. It's like, "Oh, you're accidentally a genius here because I didn't mean that, but because you have all of human history and every reference ever essentially at your disposal, you can think of things I can't. And then I can take that and then I go on a long trail until I get there." So it really feels like a total collaboration on creating the character. Another thing I find interesting is I've tried to kind of automate it and say, even today I was trying to figure out, because I'm trying to figure out like new character ideas for the video. And I find I have all my characters transcribed for my videos to say, okay, it's this type of character, he sells this. And I can feed like 400 or 500 different characters now into AI and say, what is the next logical character? Like, what is the theme here? What's happening? Like the dual world. And it can't do it. It can't come up with the next thing. It feels like there's still that human part of it that just is like irreplaceable. And when I try to do that with prompts, same thing. Like you could take those 300 prompts I shared and say, okay, create a prompt generator, and it will get close. But what I found is if it doesn't have that you know, imagination behind it, which is what usually happens, is I usually imagine a character in my mind and try to get there, because what'll happen is you'll kind of imagine it and you'll try to make it look a certain way, and you'll kind of have to go with the flow. You can't force its hand. It's like, well, it can't do that, but it can do this. I feel like sometimes I can get a character in an hour, and sometimes I don't get one for a couple of days. So so the average time might be like 12 hours, but maybe none of them really take that long. I either get to them quick or it takes me forever. People kind of recognize, I think there's a certain feeling that I try to get with my characters because the AI is using references of things. I feel like there are subconscious things we recognize in the characters that we can't spot. And I feel like when I spot it, other people probably spot it because they've kind of seen that stuff too. And so I think my long history of kind of seeing, you know, just kind of all the content that's been on the internet, and plus I'm a movie lover and TV lover big time, and using all these references, I feel like, anyways, that's part of the character creation, is that I try to get that. Where have I, there's a word for it. There's probably a German word for it, but people have commented on it where you feel nostalgic for something you didn't experience. And that's kind of the feeling I feel like my characters kind of, or I like to try to get. And not all of them. Some of them are just like a marshmallow dude pooping out little marshmallows. Not all of them are, that deep. But I feel like that's, a good percentage of them try to evoke that emotion. Mostly I use the VO sound, but I also have 11 labs. I'll download special effects, if I need a roar or something from a monster, I'll go and see if I can find a good one. But yeah, I'm really picky about it. I'll have, if I need the sound of something snoring, I'll have 20 different snoring MP3s, and I'll test them all, and I'll speed it up and I'll slow it down, and I edit it. I get real picky with that type of stuff, but I think it matters. If you're trying to ask someone to watch a 3-minute video and not get bored, if as soon as something feels off, and even just, it's weird because even a microsecond, this as well as anybody, that even a microsecond feels like can take you out of it. It's just like, why does that feel off? And so, you ask about the audio. That is one of the biggest struggles. I'm surprised they haven't, and I think Google just today or yesterday came out with a new music creator, but I'm surprised they haven't created something where you just give it the video and it adds all the sound to it, because that's going to be a big step. That's one of the reasons you see people creating long form videos, but they'll have music, is because now you don't have to worry about all the sound, like the walking, the footsteps. You just add a song over it and you can have a whole video. It's way easier to do that. But as soon as you have someone walking and now you're cutting to their head, if it doesn't transition the audio too, it takes you out of it. You can immediately tell. And so as soon as people, instead of having to overlay a video or a song, they can just plug it into the video or the audio creator and it creates the scene. that's going to be a huge step. It's for me too, because that's one of the things. I have a lot of stories I want to tell, but it's too hard to do it in 8-second clips and create like a 3-minute video that's cohesive with, you know, audio the whole time. So yeah, that is one of the struggles. And so between downloading special effects, 11 labs, sometimes I'll take the voice of a character, and a lot of the voices in VO will sound corny. It'll just like, it won't match. It'll sound like just it'll sound like me talking, and it'll be some toad looking mutant. And so I'll go into 11 labs and use the voiceover to change it into a different voice. And that works pretty well. That way the mouth matches. I mean, I hate AI just as much as anyone else, but I'm also an early adopter. It's just a step between CGI, real world, and now we've got a medium and the step in between, and that's it. And then it's just a new step. It's just a new type of media. Like, okay, cool, we can create really realistic things, but AI looks real. You can watch an AI video and wow, that looks really real. And then watch a real video and be like, AI could never duplicate this. You know what I mean? There's that real feeling from real videos that you can be fooled by a video if it's blurry enough and things are happening quick. And you can be like, yeah, that could be real. But real videos, when they get HD and it's close up and you see this pores, and there's still that visceral feeling you get from videos. I think you'll always have a spot for real actors and stuff. I think that's going to be, yeah. I think the uncanny valley, at least for another 10, 20 years. And I think the humans are what make it interesting. You know, like that's what makes it interesting. Like we don't watch football played by robots. If we wouldn't want to watch robot football. Even like with the robot wars, where the people build the robot things and they fight each other, you've got the human team behind it, building it, their imagination. This guy's got claws, this one's short suture. That's what's exciting, to see people overcome things, the underdog. We don't root for robots. And so, and I think I'm excited, you know, the dead internet theory where we just don't believe anything anymore. I'm kind of excited for that, having seen it rise, and in social media has been like a nuclear bomb going off and we can't handle. So I'm scared for the next 10 years.
I sell fireworks.
People like talk about AI sloth and stuff. Well, you're commenting on a Facebook account. You're ordering Amazon and you're eating meat and you're driving a car. We're all destroying our planet and our society, and everything is bad and owned by billionaires right now. I get why there's so much hate towards AI, but when I see people directing the hate towards their creators, the people who are trying to create funny, cool stuff for people, that's the last person. Like now people who are trying to fool people and fraud and all the AI stuff, yes, go after them. That's bad. But when I see, because when you're commenting on a video and making, calling it AI slop or arguing with them, the advertisers are making the money. They don't care if you're saying, I love this or I hate this. They're making the money. So that part I'm not, real thrilled with, but I'm not sure how it ends. The way I kind of analogize AI is like as a nuclear bomb that kind of went off. And right now we're at like a distance where we're feeling the warmth and it feels good, but there's no way it doesn't, what I'm really worried about is robots. I've toyed with the idea of starting a podcast saying, I don't think we should let them build robots. Excuse me, because I really don't think we should. That's the AI part that worries me. Because when Amazon warehouse is full of robots and you walk into McDonald's and your mechanic's a robot, that's dystopian. We're screwed. And that's what they want. The billionaires want to live forever and have robot servants and not have to worry about us and our healthcare and all our little peasant needs. Yeah. So yeah, it's not a fan of AI, but let's create good. One of the things I've talked about too is donating money back. If the Strangest Flea Market ever does become profitable in a way, that I would donate money back to artists that helped create it. Because I think with Midjourney, it is created on stolen stuff, no question. I think Midjourney owes money to, severance, to residuals, to all the artists. Who'd you train on? Give those people, whether it's a small percentage, they get a $15 check a month, whatever. That needs to be made right. That would be, for me, ideal. If AI could say, all right, we're creating, here the creators get a piece. And then if there was a way for creators to, let's say, like you use the IP of someone else, say some, 10-year-old kid in some third world country create the best Spider-Man movie, let him do that, put it on the streaming network and let him make residuals on that. Netflix makes money, Marvel makes money, that kid makes money, everyone makes money. I think if we could get to that kind of thing, AI could work. I think there's probably a 5% chance of them doing that.
If you lose something here at the market, he can find it. For a price.
Like with Instagram right now, nobody gets paid from Instagram views. You have people bringing in so much money. You have some of these views, mine is peanuts. Some people are bringing in 10 million views a video. Nothing. You have to promote, you have to hustle still. They're just taking all the money because they could. What are you going to do? We're just not giving you money anymore. They used to. So that's what worries me is we're just kind of all trapped. Same way it's twice as much to order, from a local store than it is on Amazon. It's like, well, crap, I don't have the money to buy everything twice as expensive. They got us trapped. And so that's what I kind of worry about is, when we create it, how do we get paid? How do we make money off of it, in some way?
Are you making money with the Strangest Flea Market?
No. I mean, I spend probably about $500 a month in just all the tools. And no, I make less than that in the residuals. But one of the things too is I vowed to never use AI in my merch. So I've probably hired at this point 7 to 8, maybe 10 different artists to draw different characters from the Strangest Flea Market. Partly for copyright reasons. That's part of how you copyright something is because the AI images themselves aren't copyrightable. But you can copyright the characters and the stories and all that, which I have. So any characters I publish, I have drawings of them and at least saved somewhere to say this is the character I created. It's not just this image. Just to kind of protect myself there and for the future. The images themselves aren't copyrightable. Even when you take AI images and edit them into a cohesive story, the video itself is not copyrightable. They've ruled that even editing AI stuff together does not make it copyrightable. I like the idea of having it come full circle to say, okay, I created these character ideas with AI. I want to have real artists turn them into real images and then use that for merch so that everyone can kind of make money. Right now I have a few different artists doing stickers. I want to do sticker packs. And one of the things I'd like to do is I'd like to have the option for artists to draw a amount like 5 to 10 characters in their style. And it could be like a sticker pack that's the Strangest Flea Market drawn by this artist, and then have that sticker pack on my site and have them choose what charity all the proceeds go to. So basically, if someone wants to draw my characters for free and have all the proceeds of that go to a charity, they can draw it for free. I can put it on my site for free, and all the money goes to the charity, and it's a win-win-win. I think if Midjourney and other companies slowed down and looked back at some of the stuff they've created, but I know it's an improvement game. That's how they get their money and their investors and all that. What can you do? But I think eventually we can slow down and look at some of the stuff we passed up. And I think that confusion, magic, dreamy spot is something that I haven't seen other people. Honestly, I haven't looked a lot, but I haven't run into someone else doing that exact style, which I think is interesting. I kind of get it because, it's very time consuming. And it might've just been my background with Google and all the other stuff that kind of worked out. But that is something I'm interested in seeing other people's style and seeing what other people can do with this and taking it even further. My limited abilities to give this to somebody who does all this professionally and seeing what they can do. I've learned a lot from this, from researching to say, okay, show me, I have lists and links to show me every language, show me authors from other places and everything. I mean, I've learned so much new music that I've learned because you can reference it. I don't think that I have best imagination by any stretch. But I think that I learned how to tap into how to use the AI's imagination. But just like anyone who's used the AI, if you tell it, use your imagination, it's not going to. I've forced it through complex, long, tedious thing of no, like this, like this, like this. Okay, it used its imagination. And that's what I feel like. It's a total collaboration, 50-50, whatever percentage. AI could not get there without me, and I could never get there without AI. So I feel like it's a shared partnership. Like what is that? Isn't that like a cyborg in a way? Isn't that a cyborg is where it's like humanoid, we're part robot at that point. So to me, it is kind of a creation of a cyborg that did it, because never in human history has this been possible before. The Strangest Flea Market characters are unique. Turning them into explanations with a story, because this picture could, be anything. And that as soon as you explain what it is, it's not, you take the magic away, like trying to explain the numbers in Lost. I don't know if you watched that, but there's magic numbers. So as soon as you try to believe, well, the numbers, because this, it's like, wow, you can't really explain something so interesting. We're part of during the gold rush right now so we're all kind of like following wherever the last person struck gold, and we're all headed there, and it takes time. So, but it's also fun. So me and you have lived through like the internet coming out and a bunch of new trends and cell phones. We're during that generation that's gotten to see a lot of cool brand new tech, and so it feels like just another one of those times.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There's a AI creator, his name is Matt Zine, I think. He did a collaboration with Grimes recently, and I've liked him for like a year or two, but I saw he posted a video on Reddit, a music video, and I was blown away because it just seemed like the song was good.
That voice you've been silencing finally speaks. Will I matter anymore? Will I matter anymore?
And you can tell, and it too, I'm jealous of is people who are already amazing visual editors and FX, and like they know like that stuff like the back of their hand. I know it very, clunkily. Everything I do is kind of like brute force, and so I'm really jealous of people who can use all their previous skills. And that is somebody who did that. As soon as I saw that, I was like, man, that guy is obviously really skilled making stuff. When I like it, it is usually somebody who already has the skill set. And that might change as AI gets better. Right now, it takes more skill to use those special effects and to make it cohesive, but it'll probably get easier and easier to where, it'll be harder to tell who had previous skills eventually, maybe. My conscience allows me to use AIs because it's here. I want to see, can I create good with it? It's not like everyone else can be like, okay, they don't like it, so let's not use it. It's here. You might as well, when they introduce guns into the world, it wouldn't be like, well, guns are bad, so I shouldn't get one. When they first introduced them, you should familiarize yourself. I don't have a gun, by the way. I live in Texas. I'm not pro-gun. I'm just saying, when a new technology's out that changes the world, you should familiarize yourself with it if it potentially can destroy you and your livelihood. And I feel like AI can. And so that is one of the things I'd like to do with it is, hey, if the Strangest Flea Market could get as big as Harry Potter, Star Wars and stuff, imagine how many billions of dollars could go back into charities and different artists. I mean, it could, if corporations weren't greedy, I say this now, fast forward to an interview in 10 years where I'm, firing everybody and I'm a horrible CEO. But if the company could stay good, a lot of good could be done if we don't let the Facebooks and the Amazons win.
Yeah.